Hello and welcome to IP Study video lectures, and today we are going to discuss chapter 10 from grade 7 social science, and the name of the chapter is Structure of the Earth. In this chapter we are going to discuss few important topics like surface of the earth, interior of the earth, rocks and minerals, uses of rocks and minerals, and rock cycle. Okay, so as we all know, the earth is the only planet in our solar system where life exists, and it is estimated that earth is 4.5 billion years old, and since its formation it has undergone many changes. Initially, when earth was formed, it was very hot and molten, but gradually it cooled down and it developed into a terrestrial planet with primarily solid surface composed of rocks and metals. Okay, and in this process of cooling and solidification, several concentric layers formed its interior. Okay, and when we talk about the interior of the earth, we do have a detailed information about it. We do know its structure, okay, its composition. However, no one has been able to get a direct sample from the center of the earth or the interior of the earth. And why is this? Because the center of the earth is almost 6,400 kilometers below the surface of the earth, and humans with their technology, we have only been able to drill 13 kilometers deep. Okay, this is the reason we cannot or we do not have a direct sample from the center of the earth. So now let us see the first topic, that is surface of the earth. And when we talk about the surface of the earth, we do know that there is a distribution of land and water, but it is not equally distributed. Okay, around 29% of the earth's surface is covered with land, and the remaining 71% is covered with water. To put this in another context, we can say that the Pacific Ocean, that is the largest ocean, it is larger than all these 7 continents combined in terms of area. Okay, so the distribution of land and water, there are different factors, okay, causing this distribution, such as climatic changes or tectonic movement or activities. Okay, we can also examine the physical map of the world in order to know this distribution of land and water. Okay, and when we see the physical map of the world, we can see that there is a larger portion of land in the northern hemisphere in comparison to the southern hemisphere. So now let us see the concept of sea level. Okay, so mountains, hills, plateaus, plains, and trenches, these are all the different landforms of the earth. Okay, and their altitude or elevation is determined with reference to the sea level. So when we talk about the sea level, it is the level or a reference point that help us to determine the altitude or a depth of a particular landform. Such as when we say the altitude or elevation of Mount Everest is 8,848 meters, that means from sea level the height of the Mount Everest is that much. Or when we say that the Mariana Trench, that is the deepest point of the earth, is 11,022 meters, that means from here sea level the depth of that particular landform is 11,022 meters. So the sea level help us to understand or determine that a particular landform is either up or above or below the sea level. Okay, so now let us see the second topic, that is the interior of the earth. The interior of the earth is marked by the layered arrangement of several rocks and other materials. And these rocks and other materials, they are found in different states, such as in the surface we find it in solid state, in the interior we find it mostly in semi-molten state, and in the innermost part of the interior of the earth, it is mostly hot and it is very dense. And this arrangement is because of 2 reasons. Okay, first reason is the temperature and the pressure both increases towards the interior of the earth, and secondly, this arrangement was sorted by gravity of the earth. That means the heavier materials, they sank to the interior like iron, while the lighter materials like silicates, they rose up to form the surface or the crust. Okay, and based on these properties, different concentric layers are formed. 3 concentric layers mostly, and these are crust, mantle and core. Okay, if we look at the diagram here, crust, uppermost layer, then comes mantle, and the innermost is the core. And if we talk about their volume, crust weighs 1%, mantle on the other hand weighs 84%, and core weighs 15%. So now let us see crust. It is the uppermost layer or the part of the Earth's surface, and it is also the thinnest among all the 3 layers. Okay, in this layer, the temperature mostly ranges between 30 to 1000 degrees Celsius, and this layer also supports life and provides all the valuable minerals like fossil fuels or other valuable metals and so on. And this layer is divided into 2 parts. One is continental crust and oceanic crust. So, continental crust, the thickness of the crust is almost 35 km in the continental masses, and the 2 primary minerals that compose this layer is silica and alumina, and for this it is also called Sial. Now oceanic crust, the thickness of crust in the ocean floor, it is 5 km. Okay, and the main mineral are silica and magnesium, for which it is also known as Sima. Now let us see mantle, the second layer. So mantle lies below the crust. Okay, and the thickness of mantle is around 2900 km from where crust ends. In this layer, the temperature ranges from 1000 to 3700 degrees Celsius. Okay, this layer is primarily composed of dense and heavy metals like iron, magnesium, sodium and others. And this layer is also divided into 2 parts, upper mantle and lower mantle. Now let us read about lithosphere. So now the crust and the uppermost rigid or solid portion of the mantle together make the lithosphere, and below this rigid part lies the asthenosphere, which is mostly in semi-molten state. Okay, if we look here in this diagram, see this portion, the solid portion and the crust together makes the lithosphere, and below this lithosphere lies the asthenosphere, which is mostly in semi-molten state. So now let us see the core, which is the third layer of the Earth's interior. Okay, so core is the innermost layer of the Earth, and it is divided into 2 parts, outer core and inner core. Okay, so outer core mostly it is in liquid state, while inner core is mostly in solid state. And when we talk about the radius of the core, it is about 3500 km, and the primary minerals or materials that make up the core is nickel and iron, or it is also called Fe, Ni and Fe. Okay, in this layer, the temperature ranges between 5000 degrees Celsius to 7000 degrees Celsius. So it is very hot. So now let us read about rocks and minerals. So we all know that humans have been using rocks and minerals for thousands of years. So when we talk about rocks, they are naturally occurring solid materials composed of minerals. Okay, they are naturally occurring solid materials composed of minerals, and they do not have definite chemical composition. Minerals, on the other hand, they are natural inorganic substance that form the surface of the earth, and it has one or more elements. Okay, minerals, they have a definite chemical composition and physical properties. Minerals can be metallic or non-metallic. Some of the examples of minerals are quartz, feldspar and mica. Okay. Now let us read about ore. So some rocks contain metals in large quantities which can be extractive and are economically valuable. These are called ores. For example, hematite is an ore of iron. On the other hand, bauxite is an ore of aluminium. Okay. So now let us see types of rocks. So on the basis of their formation, rocks can be classified into three types. Firstly, igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rocks. So now let us discuss about igneous rocks. So the word igneous has been derived from Latin word ignis, which means fire. Okay, and igneous rocks are formed by the cooling and solidification of hot magma or lava. Okay, they are also called primary rocks because these were the first rocks that was developed when earth was formed, and also all the other rocks like sedimentary or metamorphic rocks, they are directly or indirectly developed from igneous rock. Okay, igneous rocks can be classified into two types: intrusive igneous and extrusive igneous. So now let us discuss intrusive igneous rocks. So intrusive igneous rocks are formed when magma does not reach the surface of the earth and it cools down and solidifies within the earth crust. As such, it cools down slowly, which leads to formation of large crystals or grain. So such rocks are called intrusive igneous rocks. For example, granite, diorite, gabbro, and so on. On the other hand, extrusive igneous rocks are formed when magma reaches the earth's surface and it flows as lava. So this lava, it cools down rapidly and it does not lead to formation of large crystal or grain. So they are very fine grained. So such rocks that forms on the surface of the earth are called extrusive igneous rocks. For example, basalt, andesite, and so on. So now let us discuss about the features of the igneous rocks. So number one, so these rocks are very hard, compact and strong. So they are mostly used for building materials. As we already discussed, extrusive rocks, they are found on the surface and they have very fine grained because cooling takes place rapidly. Okay. Third, they are compact as already discussed. That means they do not allow water to percolate. That means here we can find groundwater resources trapped within these rocks. And lastly, different valuable minerals and metals like iron, silver, gemstone, they are formed in these rocks. One thing we have to understand, though we do find minerals and metals in these rocks, there is no fossils because it gets destroyed. When there is a hot lava or magma, it destroys the fossil. So we do not find any fossil in igneous rocks. So now let us discuss about sedimentary rocks. So the word sedimentary comes from Latin word sedimentum, which means to settle down. As such, sedimentary rocks are formed by the accumulation of sediments of other rocks. Okay, so as we all know, earth is constantly eroded and weathered by different erosion or weathering agents. As such, when rock is eroded, it turns into finite or smaller elements like gravel, pebbles, sand, silt. So all these are called sediment. So when rivers, streams, they transport these sediments and they deposit it somewhere, and then there is a layer by layer accumulation of this sediment. As such, with time, these layers and layers of sediments, they get accumulated and they get cemented and they form sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are very soft and can be easily breakable. One of the important features of sedimentary rocks are they cover almost 75% of the total land area of the earth. So these rocks are the most common types of rock formed on the earth. Another important feature is in sedimentary rocks we find fossils, or they are very rich in fossils. So what are fossils? So fossils are the remains of dead plants and animals that are trapped in the layers of the rock. Okay, see, this is an example of fossil. we can see the remains or the imprints of a particular animal that has been trapped. Okay. So some of the example of sedimentary rocks are sandstone, limestone, conglomerate and shale. If you look at these rocks, these are very soft and they can easily break. Now let us see the features of sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks are secondary rocks because it is formed by the accumulation of sediments of other rocks, right? Either it can be igneous rock that is weathered and its sediments accumulate to form sedimentary rocks. Records. As I already discussed that layers and layers of sediments, they cement, become compact to form sedimentary rocks. These layers shows or tell us about the different information like the climate, landscape, history of humans and so on. And one thing, this underlying layer, it is older while this overlying layer, it is younger. Okay. Now relief, as I have already discussed, 75% of Earth's surface is covered by this rock, and this sedimentary process help in change of different relief because weathering, erosion help change the different features of the Earth's surface. So now let us discuss about metamorphic rocks. So the word metamorphic has been derived from Greek word metamorphos, which means change of form. That means metamorphic rocks are formed when pre-existing igneous or sedimentary rocks are subjected to extreme heat and pressure for a long period of time. So in this process of change, the original texture or the mineral composition of the original rock are subjected to change. Also, the metamorphism mostly takes place in solid state. That is, when igneous or sedimentary rocks are buried deep inside the Earth's surface and they reach the extreme heat or pressure environment. And this extreme heat and pressure environment change these igneous or sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock. For example, shale changes into slate or limestone changes into marble because of extreme heat and pressure. So now let us discuss about the features of metamorphic rocks. Firstly, they are found in abundance, that means they are common type of rock. New minerals or texture can be observed in metamorphic rock. That means the original texture or mineral composition has changed during the process of metamorphism. Thirdly, they are hard, compact with no empty spaces. Okay, and lastly, metamorphic rock can again change into igneous or sedimentary rocks. Okay, so now let us discuss uses of rocks and minerals. Firstly, all rocks contains different type of mineral which are very essential for existence of life and civilization, right? Soil. So all minerals undergo a natural process to form soil over a long period of time, and soil is very important for the growth of plant, for humans also, right? For agriculture and so on. Chemicals. So all rocks are composed of chemicals or compound that form the minerals. Okay. So fourthly, fossil fuels. So many regions of sedimentary rocks are rich in fossil fuels like coal, petroleum and gas. Lastly, construction materials. So rock are used in different construction activities like building of roads, bridges, infrastructure. So we use rocks. So now let us discuss the last topic, that is the rock cycle. So what is rock cycle? So rock cycle is a process that describes how rocks are formed, broken down and transformed into new types of rock over millions of years. Okay, and it is a cyclic process which has neither beginning nor end. Okay, see, if you look at this diagram, there is a volcanic eruption where magma comes into Earth's surface, becomes lava, and this lava cools down, solidifies and forms igneous rock. And this igneous rock again changes due to weathering and erosion and forms sediments. these sediments again is transported and deposited somewhere, where layer by layer these sediments get cemented and form sedimentary rocks. Now again, these sedimentary rocks or igneous rock, if subjected to extreme pressure and heat, it changes into metamorphic rocks. And this metamorphic rock, when buried deep inside the earth, can come in contact with extreme heat and pressure, and it melts down and becomes magma, which again come to the surface of the earth through volcanic eruption, and then again the cycle continues. Okay, so now let us see the features of rock cycle. So in rock cycle, rocks undergo change to form different type of rock. It is a cyclic process. Okay, rock cycle help us to understand the formation of different type of rocks, and lastly it tells about how magma cools down and form igneous rock through cooling and solidification. So with this, we have come to the end of the chapter, right? So now let us summarize the important points we have studied in this session. Firstly, around 29% of the earth is covered with land, and the remaining 71% is covered with water. Earth is divided, or the interior of the earth is divided into 3 concentric layers: crust, the uppermost layer, after that mantle, and the innermost layer, that is core. Okay, so rocks are naturally occurring solid materials composed of minerals. Rocks can be classified into different types on the basis of their formation: igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. Okay, so igneous rocks are formed through the process of cooling and solidification of molten magma, and these rocks are also called primary rocks. So sedimentary rocks are formed when sediment get compressed into layers, and lastly metamorphic rocks are formed when sedimentary or igneous rocks are subjected to intense heat and pressure for a long period of time. So with this, we end the chapter. I hope this session was helpful for you, and we will again meet in our next session. Thank you.